Hi, I'm Mary Greendale, and welcome to another edition of Just Thinking. Guess what? We're talking trash today. We're not trash talking, but we're going to talk about all this stuff. Different way of opening up the store. Anyway, I have with me a guest. I have Missy Hollenback, and Missy is this a regional position? I think district.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are
I'm the Municipal Assistance Coordinator working with Mass DEP, and I work in the Southeast 2 region that kind of starts up around Avon and Dedham and goes all the way down to Westport, including Holliston.
Wow, I never know how the state does the geography thing. So, you know, I used to work for the state, so I should know, but I don't. Anyway, so the theme of this show is reduce, reuse, and recycle. Think before you buy. How much trash are you creating, including the bag or the box that's involved? So we're going to start, and I'm inviting you to just jump in and tag on with me. I've got this, little spiel that sort of rolls in my head. Yep. It's been on I have researched all of these things at the recyclesmartma.org, which is where you can find a recyclopedia, which I thought was a great term. Type in the item that you want to look for, and believe it or not, it will pop up. I mean, I've put in some really obscure items like this thing, and it pops up and tells you whether it's recyclable or not. Now, even if your provider, a hauler, might have different interests and so forth, no matter what, for the purposes of this show, everything here is about what the state says and should be consistent with the hauler. I got some bad information from our hauler at one point, but he finally admitted the state was right. So how can you say they're not? Anyway, okay, so I'm going to start with what they love. They love big, plastic, solid kind of thing. Ignore the numbers that are on the bottom. When did they start?
To be honest, I don't know.
Seems like forever ago.
Yeah, it's been, when they actually started that whole number system, it was a long, long time, decades ago.
And it was when it made sense, because whatever plastics or resins they were using, they were alerting, and there was a market for it, and it all made sense. Today, this is just useless. So don't feel good about going down and saying, oh, well, it's number 2. I can do that. No, just don't. Ignore it.
And the other thing is, a manufacturer can put anything on there they want.
Oh.
So a lot of times when you get something from Europe or another country, they'll have it on there and you don't know what it is, but so really there's no rules or laws about what they can put on there. So there are some, I don't see anything here, but I'll just call one item out as a toothpaste container.
Yeah.
And I bought one from my nice little natural brand, and it has all over the box and the container, big recycling symbols and all this stuff. No, that cannot be recycled.
No, I looked it up too. Yeah. So this was the one that really surprised me. Medications. So the ones that you get for prescription cannot be recycled. And clearly this is a different type of plastic. Yeah. You can feel it. But these, your over-the-counter vitamins and whatever else you get for ibuprofen and so forth, these can be recycled. Yeah. So 2 different things. Medication, treat them differently. It's just have to remember.
I just want to interrupt for a second there. So what, you have your big prescription bottle there? What I just discovered on my own, I take the label off, the lid off, and I now have a little drinking cup in my bathroom. Instead of having a little Dixie cup that you throw away or whatever, I use those for a few weeks, get a new one or whatever. But again, they're great for holding and storing stuff.
Small screws, nuts, bolts, scissors, little whatever you call them, snaps and stuff.
Yep.
But you've tapped into reuse. So if you bought something and you're not ready to recycle it, or if you could find another use for it, do it. So my favorite one so far, who knows, I'll keep this, I've found this whole thing very interesting, I must admit. Tin foil, which I use rather faithfully because it can be recycled. I have to wash it, and believe it or not, in the kitchen sink, I can put soap on it and scrub it like this and actually wash it without it tearing. But the trick is, don't put a bunch of little pieces separated all in your trash, because that will not go through the process properly. Lump it together so that it is similar in size to a can, because the system, or rather the technology, is used to looking for an aluminum can, so it finds this in the same way. Same way with pie plates. One thing to remember is everything needs to be clean. If it's dirty, it should have just gone in the trash. So if you're going to be lazy about it and you're not going to wash it and clean it, I guess I have to say to you, put it in the trash, but I'd really rather you just cleaned it and did it the right way. How about these things? My first instinct was this would be recyclable because after all it's out of cardboard, and this, well, maybe not because it's kind of a thin plastic. Nope, other way around.
Yep.
Recyclable, not recyclable.
And the reason why is, well, there's two things you have going on
Yeah,
with
we should take that one out for now.
So the first one is the paper cup is actually coated with lining in there, and depending on what the company is, it could be a plastic, it could be kind of a wax kind of substance, which means that when it goes to be recycled, it's very hard to recycle. And that's the same reason for cartons not being able to be recycled in this part of Massachusetts. There's those multiple layers of stuff. It's very difficult and expensive to remove it, so that is why those go in the trash. The straws, again, are another thing. They do not go in the recycling at all. They go in the trash. And to be honest, when I actually do an audit where I go to the MRF, the material recovery facility where all the recycling goes, I see so many of those, and they're called a contamination. They go in the trash.
Yeah, they should go in the trash. Or, and my grandson said this to me the other day, because I got a thing at the Dream Cafe, and it came with a straw, so I opened it up, and I said, oh, damn, it's a plastic straw. And he said, well, why didn't you just skip the straw? And I thought, well, there's a clever idea. I don't need to worry about it if I go back to doing what I used to do 100 years ago, which is drink from the cup. Okay, so these are recyclable.
Those are recycled, and the interesting thing is, one of the reasons they are is because they're the right kind of plastic, but it's also clear.
Yep.
Solo cups, you know, those dark colored ones and black plastic cannot be recycled because the optical sorter lens can't see what it is. So that's
natural segue right into my very favorite discovery, which is what you just said. So you've got this, you're really feeling pretty smug, you've rinsed it out, you figure you can just throw the whole thing in recycling. No, you can't. You can throw this into recycling because it is clear, but you can't throw this black thing in there for the very reason that Missy just mentioned. The light on the equipment just doesn't recognize it, so it doesn't work. So you have to bother to split them apart. I know it's a pain. It is a nuisance.
Technology's, you know, getting there, but the other part, and then I think we're going to talk about this later, is the market for it.
Yeah.
So right now there's also not a strong market for black plastic.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of two things.
When you have your cups that you've just recycled or whichever, you can't do it with either one of these. These are both trash. Very discouraging. You can't put it, just put it on the top. Everybody knows plastic bottles, great. These are great. Make sure you either keep the cap on to recycle, or if you're not going to recycle the cap, throw it in the trash. Okay, but do not let it go loose, because all these little things of plastic end up getting stuck in the equipment and causing shutdowns of the equipment. And then we get to be very unpopular. Okay. Styrofoam. By now we should all know, although I found some in my trash today, it was the bottom of a meat tray. Sorry, black, styrofoam, whatever. Soft, hard, doesn't matter. Bad, bad, bad.
And everyone gets fooled with styrofoam because oftentimes it has a big recycling symbol on it and a number in there. And everyone goes, oh, of course I can put it in there.
Yeah, again, just forget about those numbers.
So it can be recycled, not at your curb. Some communities have special programs where they will collect it, and they do make things, but it takes a lot to get 1 ton of styrofoam, which is mostly air. It's very time-consuming and kind of expensive, actually, but it can be done.
And we don't do that in Holliston. We don't have a separate special category for that kind of plastic. So I was excited, got a cardboard kind of container, and I thought, oh, this is exciting. And then I discovered you can't recycle these either. Now, in all seriousness, this had some stains in it. And again, I'm assuming because it's stained, I shouldn't put it in recycling anyway. But do you know why this isn't recyclable?
So let me address the stains first of all. So I don't know if you have a pizza box here.
I did, but I...
Okay, so pizza boxes are our #1 researched item on our Recycle Smart MA. And pizza boxes can be recycled, but you have to remove the food, that little Barbie doll tray there, and any of the liners in it. It's okay if you have some grease in there, that's fine. So the food stains are okay.
Okay.
So, but the reason that one again is because it's coated with something on there. And then sometimes with restaurants who think they're doing a good job, and I'm glad they're thinking, they'll have biocompostable or compostable bins. But it's a little tricky if you really research into them. They can't go in a backyard compost program. And many programs, I know in Holliston here, you have the Black Earth program.
Right.
They're very specific about what companies they will take because there are contaminants, forever chemicals that are in some of these coatings. So they don't want them. So most of the time they cannot be recycled or even composted.
I was so excited and happy with myself because I was buying compostable bags until I started researching this. And those are the pale green bags, and so I'm paying probably triple the price for a plastic bag, or as opposed to a plastic bag. And then I discovered that because I'm not composting in a big facility, can't even do it just in my backyard. It's like, well, this is a bummer, so I might as well just buy the cheaper plastic bags and buy real flimsy ones. Maybe they break down faster. I don't know. But anyway, these are recyclable. These are just your normal plastic food containers. Again, just remember to clean them out because that can kibosh the whole thing. This was a tricky one for me. It was like, okay, I'm sure this must be recyclable, and it is. If it has this on it, take it off if you can. Some of them even indicate on the packaging that a little zipper line kind of thing, or cut here. This one doesn't happen to, but yeah, this is one of the thin plastics and really not something that's going to go through the recycling. These things go into the trash, 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 trash. Everything's trash, it seems. So then there's paper.
Yeah.
Okay, and no, you cannot do your coated receipts from, in this case, CVS. Okay, those aren't any good. Those go into trash.
And the reason is because the ink on it is not a good ink. It has some contaminants in it.
I'm really not surprised when you feel it, you know. All of this stuff is recyclable. I have a question for you.
Yep.
How small is too small?
So how small is too small is the general way for people to think about it is a 3x3 Post-it note. So yeah, it's kind of close and iffy kind of thing, but if you, let's say you have a whole bunch of Post-it notes, you can actually just tape them onto a bigger piece of paper and then recycle that. So if you want to tape that to one of your other things, you can do that.
In the case of this, where it has this little liner, I'm assuming I have to take this out. So if I want to recycle it, I have to tear this apart and get this little plastic, because plastic's not recyclable.
Yep.
Okay, and all this stuff. The only caution there was on the website was with the junk mail that you get, make sure there's nothing in there that's a plastic card or something like that, one of those bonus things, or credit card, not a real credit card, but one of those promotional things. Both plastic and cardboard egg cartons can be recycled.
Yep.
I didn't realize until I did this that the plastic ones could be.
Yep.
I was a little surprised, actually.
So what Mass DEP has done is when they've worked and created Recycle Smart MA, they work very closely with all the MRFs in the state and asking them every year, what are the problems you're seeing? What can you handle now? So they work very closely that, so we get the information direct from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Other states don't necessarily get that, so we do have a very close relationship with them to find out really what they want.
Oh, that's good. That's
so
good.
What we have on our thing might not be the same in another state. And then even there's a slight little glitch that if you're in Western Mass, you can actually recycle milk cartons. But again, it's because they have a different market. But
yeah. Milk cartons, I did not bring one. Do not, you cannot. As Missy mentioned earlier, they are layers of cardboard and plastic and wax and who knows what.
Yeah.
So milk cartons and all of those things that are related, like cream and those things.
Juice boxes.
Yeah, all that stuff is just trash.
Yeah.
And that takes up a big chunk of trash. And so, try to remember to step on it.
Yeah.
Smash it.
Yeah.
You can line them up and have a game of it.
Yeah.
But, and these are perfectly perfectly fine. Throw them into the recycling. And so you're saying if it's stained, it's still okay?
It's still
That's good.
okay.
As long as the food's not still stuck to it. Take the pie
No
out.
donuts in there. You know.
Okay. And we're going to wait on this because
Okay.
this is thin plastic. And this is the nightmare as far as I've determined for myself anyway. This is those things, those products that come in 1,000 different shapes and forms, including things that we all use fairly regularly in some cases, these wonderful Ziploc bags. So we will get back to thin plastics in a minute. Right now, I'm going to repeat that website, recyclesmartma.org, because I want you to keep that in mind. And hey, bookmark it on your phone. Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the world market for recyclables these days? It's changed.
So the world market has kind of changed, I think, a few years before COVID, mainly when China decided to stop taking our recyclables because they were very contaminated. I don't blame them. You turn our items into a commodity. That means that they're going to be making something out of them. And so when they are contaminated, they can't do that. It's very difficult, or the process breaks down. And when we talk about contamination, everyone automatically thinks of something toxic or horrible. Contamination basically means if we have a big load of paper and one of these plastic bags in there, that becomes contamination. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're really talking about. It's contamination, things that shouldn't be in there, the straws, little things that can get lost in there with that. So what happened is in the industry, the market kind of collapsed for a little while, and the United States tried to find other countries and other places to send our stuff. And then also what was happening is that back home here, businesses started popping up. And it's still working, it's going on. It takes a while to get these gigantic things together, so it's really starting to happen. And so we have these companies now in the United States that want these items, and some of these, contrary to what you're hearing, some of these companies are begging for more, and they're actually importing things because they can't get enough. So it's kind of an interesting
Is there a way to find out what those are?
I don't know, probably just Googling what it is. And again, it depends on the market and the season.
And it changes.
Yes, so that's one of the things with the market is it's driven by supply and demand. So when markets are starting to think about making more boxes maybe for the holiday season, again, it depends on the industry, how the lag time is, then the prices will go up. And then when it's now, it'll go down. So there are indexes that you can look at that'll tell you the market price of, how much cardboard is right now, and then 4 months later it might be down. So it really depends. It's a market. It's a world market of depending on what we need right now.
And that's what we have to keep in mind is do they want this, and making it as easy as possible to give them what they want. Exactly. And you mentioned about not mixing things. I read too that taking a plastic bag like this and putting all your recyclables in there is just absolutely the opposite of what you should do. Because as soon as that happens, this whole bag of perfectly good recyclable products gets thrown off the line and goes into the trash, which is really sad. So if you're going to bother to do that, just keep them in a box and throw them into the trash.
And the other thing
into the recycling.
And the other thing with the contamination is that the MRFs are trying to really keep a level of a certain number of contamination. And so communities that have a high level of contamination might have to pay a fee or a fine for going over that.
Whoa.
And I've had some communities, it's substantial. And so it really does impact your town's budget. Yeah.
Oh, I really should check on that to see if we have ever been, fined for being dirty. That would be terrible.
And again, it depends on your hauler and where it goes to.
Interesting. That is very interesting. Where does our trash go when that hauler gets it?
So again, it depends on your hauler. So your hauler here in Holliston is E.L. Harvey, and E.L. Harvey, they have their own site for collecting trash, and they also have their own MRF. So it goes to their MRF, and my guess is that it probably goes to the one in Hopkinton, Westboro, because it's the closest.
Yeah, it's convenient.
And that's the thing, is that depending on where your municipality is, the cost depends on where the nearest facilities are. So again, your trash, whether it's going to, the incinerator in Millbury, or maybe it's going to a landfill, most likely the incinerator, but it depends on all that kind of thing.
So let's go back to the whole rethinking and reducing how much we, generate for recycling, because I think it was just kind of a mind shift for me. It was like, so before I buy something, I should be thinking of what it is in, so a gallon of milk in a glass versus a gallon of milk in a cardboard or a wax box. Maybe I get to make a choice there. But certainly when it comes to also shipping, which has gotten to be a really, really big thing, I guess the good news is you get cardboard for cardboard boxes, but at what price? I mean, it's probably pretty steep. So in terms of the value of, or how we make that determination about reducing, are there any tricks, any thoughts about what are the things we really have to pay attention to, the top 3 things?
So, when you go to the supermarket, you really don't have much of a choice because the packaging is excessive. In my opinion.
You don't have to do this, though.
Yeah.
You don't have to use these.
You don't have to, yeah.
Years ago, before these were created, we didn't do that. You'd take the potato, and there'd be 3 potatoes. You put the 3 potatoes on the conveyor belt. So you don't have to use these things.
You don't. So you're right. There are decisions that you can make with smaller things like that. And then, again, looking for items that don't have a lot of packaging, or whether you can get away without having packaging. The other thing is looking at what the products themselves are made from, like you mentioned, the various things, but making sure if it is plastic that it's made from recycled content, because that again helps that market and that whole making the whole Mobius loop, chasing triangles go around more. So that's another thing you really want to look at to see if it has recycled content in it.
Okay, that's good to know, because I didn't pick that up along the way, and that helps with those plastic bags, trash bags, because you can find, all right, the compostable ones don't compost, but they do have trash bags that are made from recyclable content.
Yep.
So those would be preferable to just the regular plastic bag. Good to know, because I hadn't picked up on that one.
And then bigger things when you buy, stop and think about where you're buying from. So we're really trying to flip that paradigm of reducing, reusing, and looking maybe to go to a thrift store. If you've never been to one, they're actually
very fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're kind of fun.
And then the other thing is, it's such an industry now, huge, multi-million-dollar industry, online even. So I didn't plan this, but the dress I'm wearing is from a company called ThredUp. It's an online thrift store, and for me, I don't have time, so when I fall asleep at night, I can look at various dresses and sort it, and I think it was, $10 or something, but it's a major name brand, and it's nice and soft and comfy. But little things like that, so little things that you can do like that, or when you're getting rid of your stuff also, thinking of doing the same thing.
Yeah, try to recycle them locally even. We have free market and that kind of stuff, that stuff.
Oh, definitely.
The other thing from a local standpoint is, if you need 2 screws for something and you go to Home Depot, you're going to get it in a bubble pack with plastic and cardboard. But if you go downtown to the hardware store, you can buy 2 screws. Yeah. So it's, and they'll even help you figure out which screw, and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's the other thing. Point. Sometimes if you use the small little local stores, you'll find that you can find the thing you want without all the packaging. And another thing I'm trying to keep doing is not just going to the grocery store with my bags, but always having a bag with me, so that if I do buy something, I don't have to go home with one of the plastic bags. Yeah. These things drive me insane. And anyway, obviously, this is how they're shipped. Yeah. There aren't a whole lot of choices. But all of these thin plastics, and including these shipping thingies, and all of this stuff, and the plastic wrap that we use at home to cover food and stuff in the refrigerators. You can find beeswax wraps now that you can try. They're not perfect, I will admit that. But we've got to do something with these. So I started poking down, what do you do with this stuff? And some of these are recyclable at like the grocery store, like in the front entrance at Shaw's. I know they have some. But not everybody is going to do that. And maybe it's, I don't know, there are a million reasons why you have to have multiple opportunities for people to do the right thing. And I noticed at Ocean State Job Lot, there was a box on the floor as you were leaving the store that invited you to bring these plastics, and it showed you on the box, and they use it to make that whatever artificial clapboard that goes on the side of your house or patio. I mean, not patio, but deck. So they take these things and crush. Loved that idea. Now I tried to locate them. They're actually a European company. I tried to locate them through Medway, I think you mentioned to me, talked to Medway, and I don't know, fell off the...
So Trex, T-R-E-X, is the company that, actually they have a site in Virginia. And that's what they do. They make the plastic decking and that kind of thing. There might be another company out there.
I was going to say, that's not the name that I was looking for.
So Trex is one that is an American company, and they actually have a program where they do that. So what they do, the Rotary Club in Westboro and Northboro, they've been doing this for 5 years now. They've been holding special collections. They'll have a bin at the high school or whatever. The local credit union, that hardware store you mentioned, and they'll collect them once a month and take them to a store that has agreed to work with the Trex company, and then they'll send all this stuff to them, and they'll the nonprofit can get a bench made from the special decking.
That's cool.
And so in their community they've been able to collect five benches. So it's a really great program.
I want to know more about that. I'm going to get the details on that, and we are going to try that here. The other option would be to see whether or not we could get one of the recycling, whatever that is, not box, it's a whole system, from the grocery store. I mean, is it possible to put those in a recycling center?
You could do that. Part of my job is not only teaching everyone about recycling, but also kind of how to reduce the cost of it as well, because it is a municipal program and you want to keep your costs down. By working with the Trex company and maybe a local retailer, the one they work in Westboro is Kohl's, they kind of pay for it. So if you have that special box or that bin, whatever is
that's probably the easiest.
It's great and it's fantastic, but there is a cost associated with it. The other thing by having it at a recycling center outside is these things we know blow like crazy. So it's again, by having a little more controlled inside, it's preventing some of the pollution and the littering with it. But it's a great idea, and it's just.
I will definitely follow up on that, because I think that sounds like the solution to at least establish a program and people can start thinking about ways to get rid of this stuff.
And because the plastic bags and what you mentioned in putting your recyclables in there is, I believe, the #1 contamination when it goes to the facility to be sorted. And you had mentioned that the things get stuck in there. The plastic bags are what we call tanglers, any cords or wires. Those are the worst because they wrap around these very sharp rotor kind of things. And they have to shut the plant down, I've heard, 2 to 4 times per day. These things run around the clock, completely shut the entire facility down, and then go in and manually remove these. It's very dangerous because these things are sharp. So this is why it's really important not to put it in there. Not only is it contaminating, there's a cost, but it is impacting somebody's life possibly. So it really is an important thing to do.
Good point.
Putting in there.
Good point. Now, you mentioned that you had some slides that you thought, was there anything that we haven't mentioned that you have in your presentation that we haven't?
We did. Well, we were going to at some point mention composting.
Composting.
So if you don't have time, that's okay.
Go ahead.
We can do that.
We are running out of time, but we're going to do one thing. We're going to say Holliston does utilize the services of Black Earth. It is an additional fee for you each month. They provide you with the bags. They pick it up at the same time as they pick up the town's recycling and trash, so it's not like you have to put it out on a different day. It's a little green container about that tall. And then you do get some free compost back, a bag or two or something like that in the spring. And in the springtime, you'll see around Holliston the bags at the store, at the hardware store and stuff that will say, well, we got our stuff back. You know? But at any rate.
Yeah, definitely that is the easiest way for people to compost, and compost year-round here in New England. I'm a backyard composter, but in this time of the year, I started trying one of those programs, and they're great. My husband actually likes it better. But again, compost is just such a large part of a municipal waste stream.
Yep.
So we estimate about 1/4 of the trash is food waste.
Yep.
And again, we can go into that whole thing about trying not to waste food in the first place, because that is been known to be one of the top 5 greenhouse gas emission programs and for climate change as well. So it is really important. And then it's just also the cost associated with your municipal trash contract, because it goes by weight.
And that stuff's heavier.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've ever pulled a little bag out of the little composting container, you know it's heavier.
So yes, trying the programs are great, and composting just has really a lot of benefits that I'm not even going to go into. We could talk for hours about composting, but it really is an important one, and I do encourage everyone to do that.
Yeah. If you want information about Black Earth, start with the town administrator's office. Donna Muzzy, that is the office manager, actually keeps all of the stuff about this trash and recycling and so forth.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is, getting rid of your stuff. So we talked a little bit about, donating and all that stuff. And there's some really cool programs out there. And I bet people in Holliston don't even know about one that's not too far away in Ashland. And it's the Habitat for Humanity Restore.
Yep.
And there's also a bigger one in Worcester that has a lot of construction items and stuff like that, and those screws you were talking about and things like that. So really looking into these other programs to get rid of your stuff. The other thing is furniture is a really huge one right now, and looking into whether they can go to a charity or a furniture bank. And you do have to understand is that they don't want the one that the cat has clawed and it's been in your son's frat house and that kind of thing. So they do kind of want.
They have some standards.
They do have standards, yeah. And then it's funny. The other thing is textiles. We didn't talk about those, but again, for a long time, that has been a really large percentage of our trash stream. So they are now banned from being in the trash, and also they can't go in your curbside recycling bin. But there are enough bins around town and the schools and their charities to do that. And the thing is, in the old days, we're probably the same age, we're told it has to be,
the clean,
clean, good shape, good condition. Yeah, they would have a description.
Yeah.
Anymore, put everything textile in. If you have one shoe, one glove, put it in there, sock with holes in it.
Yep.
Because what it is it goes, again, market driven. It gets sorted by season and quality and holes, and the stuff that's good will go to people, again, different levels and criteria, and then the stuff with holes and pretty bad, they'll shred it and make rags out of it, or carpet fibers and things like that. So it really all does get used.
We do have those, the ones that take all textiles. The one at the Marshall Street landfill area is one place, and also those at the schools. So the ones at the elementary school, there's a set of them outside Placentino, and there's a set of them out here at the high school, and they do take textiles. And there have been plenty of time when that's what I've really needed.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's a few other things that we can talk about. But one of the big things that I wanted to mention is that, and trying to get this out to everybody, because we're a small state, we actually have a capacity issue of where our trash can go to. So right now, our trash goes to 5 incinerators where it gets burned, but that creates ash, so it doesn't totally go away. And then we have 5 landfills. By the end of 2030, we will have 1 landfill that will still be actively in business. The landfills, the incinerators are currently about 25 years old. Lifespan is 30 years. There's a moratorium on them. No community wants to have a new one in their town, so we're not going to be building any new ones. So currently, right now, 45% of our trash is being railroaded out of state to other states. New Hampshire, New York, Ohio, Alabama. And so anytime there's any disruption within the rail service or within those states or whatever, it impacts the whole industry, like where's our trash going to go kind of thing. And this also is driving up the cost for it as well. So these are things that, another reason we want to reduce our trash is so that we can, extend the life of our landfills and keep our costs down and not send our stuff to somebody else.
I know, that just seems so outrageous. If we can't, if you can't get rid of it yourself, if you can't keep it within your own borders, there's something wrong. You have to change something.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just not right.
Yeah.
Well, for today, I think we are going to wrap it here, but I think there may need to be a part 2 because I think there are scads of things we haven't talked about, and maybe by that time I'll have some information and the TREX program can actually, be up and running. But this was a huge help.
I'd love to come back. I talk about trash all the time. And the reality is, it's everyone's favorite topic.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, not around my house. They're pretty tired of me. We have an old wooden wood stove, and we don't use it. And on the wood stove, there was a paper bag that said plastic that will be with us until we're, till 1,000 years from now. And we would all walk by looking at the thing, like rolling their eyes. But anyway, all right. Well, thank you, folks, for joining us today. As I say, I think there'll be a part 2 on trash because trash is just this endless supply. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you the next time around. Bye-bye.